Florida Governor Rick Scott pulling a state prosecutor from several high-profile cases for her refusal to pursue the death penalty. Was this the right call or an abuse of executive power? Here now to debate it is attorney and former prosecutor Elliot Feelig and Florida criminal defense attorney Whitney Bone. Thank you both for being with us.
Good morning.
So, Elliot, good morning. Why do you support the governor on this decision?
Well, let's be clear. Rick Scott ran for governor in 2010 as a staunch supporter of the death penalty. He was elected, then re-elected in 2014 as a staunch supporter of the death penalty. By contrast, Ms. Ayala concealed her position on the death penalty, implied during her campaign she would approach these cases with an open mind on a case-by-case basis. Imagine how people would feel if a prosecutor decided after being elected, I'm not going to pursue domestic violence cases or I'm not going to prosecute child molesters. We would all consider that inappropriate. Well, thankfully, a mechanism exists where a governor can legally take away cases when a prosecutor isn't going to enforce the law. So what Governor Scott is doing is legally permissible, also consistent with the wishes of the people of his state who overwhelmingly support the death penalty.
Okay, this prosecutor, Miss Ayala, she's supposed to represent the state. She's supposed to go after these criminals. So, Whitney, I'm curious, why do you support her? Why do you think that she shouldn't seek the death penalty for these criminals?
It's not that I think that she shouldn't pursue the death penalty for these criminals.
But you're supporting her,
right? The issue here, though, I support the fact that Rick Scott has made the wrong decision here. I support the fact that she has the right to use her prosecutorial discretion to make decisions regarding whether or not she pursues the death penalty. I disagree with the way she's handled this in terms of coming out and saying, I'm not going to pursue the death penalty in any case at all. That is not appropriate. I do not agree with that.
Okay.
However, what Rick Scott is doing is setting a bad precedent because he's interfering with her independent discretion as a prosecutor, and she was elected by the people here in Orange and Osceola counties here in Florida. And that is her discretion in terms of whether or not she goes with the death penalty. She used this as a political platform for herself. I will concede that. That is absolutely accurate.
All right, that's why these elections are so important.
What Rick Scott is doing is no different.
Okay, Whitney, let me just remind you, though, what some of these criminals have done. There's one criminal that she won't seek the death penalty for, Markeith Lloyd. He is charged with killing an Orlando police lieutenant and his pregnant ex-girlfriend. There's another person, Larry Perry, accused of beating his infant son to death. There's Juan Rosario, charged with beating his 83-year-old neighbor to death and setting her house on fire. I mean, what do you say to the families of these victims?
And I am glad I'm not in a position where I have to tell the families of these victims that, but I will tell you this. What Aramis has done is that she has come out in a way and said, I'm not going to seek the death penalty in any case. I have no problem with her using her discretion, however, on a case-by-case basis. She's playing a political game of chicken, and Rick Scott is playing it back with her at this point. But what's at stake here is exactly as you're pointing out. There are real victims in these cases. There are real defendants who have the right to have this system have integrity. And there's the public here in Orange and Osceola counties, where I've practiced as a criminal defense attorney for 13 years, who have the right to have trust and faith in their publicly elected official.
Elliot, real quickly,
so that's the real issue here.
Okay, let's get Elliot in.
People of good conscience can disagree on the death penalty, but the way to change the law is through the democratic process, by lobbying, by voting. But to conceal your position from the voters, as this prosecutor has done, it isn't courageous, it's just dishonest.
All right, thank you both for being with us. Elliot and Whitney, have a great day. Thank you.